Yo, what's up? What's up? It's the Hungry Millennial back again with yet another Proactive Pragmatism. On today's Proactive Pragmatism, we start off again with our series Millennials Are. This next millennial I'd like to bring to the podcast is a father, military leader, entrepreneur, and the owner of Meek Beast Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Paschal Sr. Yo, Aaron, what's up? How you doing, bro?
What's going on, Tommy?
Man, welcome to the podcast. I appreciate you coming on, man. How you been?
I've been good, man. I've been good. I'm glad to be here. Man, it's been a great year.
Okay.
Feeling blessed.
Man, great year already. And it's only March, man.
I know, man.
You know what I'm saying? That's what's up, bro. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast, man. Like, one thing that I've got to know is, how did you come up with this apparel line? Like, that's deep to me, because I'm like, man, maybe I'll get a t-shirt or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm starting to check out the Instagram page and it's popping. I'm like, man, I'm gonna need to grab that, especially that black one you got on. I'm gonna need you to send one of those this way. You know what I'm saying? So
I got you, man. So a while ago, right, when I was actually started from a dream that I had when I was in high school. I met my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, and we had a couple other friends. And I was real heavy in the church, and I was just trying to find a purpose. And I felt like, one way to kind of spread a positive message was to put what we believe in the clothing, because I feel like there's there are very few things that represent who you are, like the clothing that you wear. You know what I mean? Like, you can see how, like, through a person's style, like what is in them internally. You don't have to be like an extrovert to see that. So what I wanted to represent was, positivity, all the things that I believed in, and I wanted to like give that to the people like myself who were, kind of like the wallflower, not outwardly boisterous or anything, but in the right group, you know how we get.
Oh yeah.
But it was for people like myself. So originally we called it No Compromise Incorporated. And the no compromise was not to compromise your beliefs, the core of who you are. And man, it's funny because as soon as we did that, like, all of the tests came. Like, we compromised a lot.
Okay. All right. That's real.
Yeah, we
that's
compromised
growth.
a lot. But through, like you said, man, just through that growth, we saw that maybe the vision isn't like not compromising, because life just growing, you have to. I mean, if you refuse to be, if you refuse to bend, or if you refuse to make concessions for certain situations in life, you could find yourself dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not like physically, but like inside, like dead, like not being able to be around people because like these certain people don't jive with the way you think. And, you could find yourself like closing yourself off and just only jiving with the same kind of people that have your beliefs. And to me, that's like death, man. That's not what, promotes growth. And so I don't want to be long with it, but I was looking, I was like, dang, man, somebody already used the name No Compromise Inc. as well for a tattoo shop. And I was like, dang, like we're just out. Like, I was walking to a building, I was just meditating and thinking and stuff. And as soon as I put my hand on this particular building's door, the name Meek Beast came to mind. I'm like, because I'm sitting there thinking, like, who do I want to be? What do I want to represent in life? What do I want to impart to my sons? And like, my biggest role model in life is Jesus. Do I always follow that example that he set? No. But I think he's definitely someone, even if you're not like a Christian or anything like that, or a believer, you can find something positive from the way he lived his life. And to me, he's the quintessential meek beast. He's
Okay.
humble. He's someone who could definitely have exerted, authority and usurped the power that was, at the time. But his job wasn't to rule, and he let people know that he was like, "Hey, I'm not coming to be a king like right here the way you think I am. I came to serve. I came to show you, um, humility." To
Mm,
me, like we have this negative connotation with humility, especially in American culture. It's like I got to be the best, I'm a beast. I'm this. I'm that. I'm like, well, it's okay to be a beast, but you also have to remember that humility is what will get you the lesson, right? It'll allow you to learn from what you're dealing with. And so, meshing those
mm,
two together, we just came up with the name Meek Beast Apparel because that's what we want to represent: is humility and excellence. It's pursuing everything in life, with the ferocity of a lion, but
mm,
also understanding that it takes humility to get that journey across because we learn by being
mm.
humble.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, that's real, and it's deep that you say that because, like today, while I was delivering for FedEx, I'm like, have I become a meek beast? You know what I mean? Like it's weird because you start to see yourself like grow and change, and you're like, old me would be complaining hard about this. New me is still complaining a little bit, but it's more of an internalized complaining to be like, you need to get over yourself and continue to process because every day in what I do, I get challenged every day because it's more packages, it's more boxes, and everybody's watching your reaction because
Mm.
it's like people know you're in the military, so they, you know what I mean, like, and there are different types of military, right? Like I feel like, and even as captains, like we have to be meek beasts all the time because if you don't humble yourself, that lieutenant colonel gonna humble you.
Yeah. Hey, man, your people will humble you. Like,
You know what I'm saying? Your
yeah,
troops, they'll humble
yeah,
you quick, right? And that's deep. And I'm glad that you came up with that because like years ago, I'm like, or yeah, I was like, oh, what's this meat beast thing? What is it? But we started talking deeper, and the more I evolved, because the viewers don't know this, but we tried to start a podcast ourselves, and
yeah, yeah.
he was more meek, and I was way too much beast at the time, and that was prior to my deployment and prior to just me grasping the different lessons in life. Like I was well read, like I read a lot of different books and stuff, but I didn't really know what that was.
Yeah.
And so I know we haven't really touched on why the podcast didn't work, but if you want to speak on the podcast a little bit,
Oh
because you
yeah,
are gonna
man.
have
Yeah,
it.
yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, like, again, Hungry Beast is what it was. It didn't get off the ground like that, but I think what it was is that we had a different way of representing or expressing that beast. You know what I mean?
Mm, yeah,
Because you remember a long time ago, like when Captain Hurtado set us down, he was like, "Look, man, the
man.
reason you two are bumping heads, you're the same person." He's like, you're similar. Like you have, so like when we're
I don't even
standing on
remember him
something.
sitting us down, bro. Like that's how wild that is. It's crazy that you bring that up because I had him on my social media, and I was like, there's some reason why I was gravitating towards that guy and towards you as well. But
Mm.
like, go ahead anyway. But carry on because I was
No,
like,
man.
man, like
So
you
it's
you
like,
going deep now.
yeah. So we were both in a period of growth,
Mm,
and I was lacking in humility as well because you wanted to do a thing and you
mm,
had the vision, and I was being a bit resistant because I had a vision as well. I was like, well, I got to tell you this thing, like why I believe that it should be this way. But then I had to think like I got a brother right now who is trying to go after a dream,
mm,
and he has the passion for it, and I don't really have the passion for it the way he does.
mm,
So I got to get out of the way. Like I mean, I feel like, what, why am I like holding this back right now? Why am I like standing in the way? So that's what that day we talked, the conversation should have taken that route. Again, it was like it didn't take that route because I didn't want to like let you down in that aspect, but it eventually arrived to that conclusion where we were like, all right, man, this isn't gonna work. We went our separate ways, but it was never on the tip that like, oh no, we ain't messing with each other no more. I
Mhm.
want to see him fail. Heck no,
Mhm.
it was the exact opposite. It's like the world needs this,
Mm.
because
Really, you
between,
saw that? I,
huh?
this, I mean that
Yeah,
means a
man.
lot to me. I didn't. It's hard because in my mind I had to look at it like, and I had to ask myself, are you the person to be bringing this message? Because I'm human and I'm fallible. Like, and I only come from a place of care.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's exactly why you
the,
need to bring the message. Like and that's the thing, man. We put these people up on like pedestals, and again, that's the brand I want to represent. It's just
mhm,
being human, man. It's like,
mm,
again, like, you got Jesus where he shows this like this picture of perfection,
mhm.
but it's a hard thing to attain, man. It's a hard thing to go after.
But see, that's also the interesting thing is that's not even who Jesus was, and that's what as humans, that's what we have done. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, because even in other books where they do mention him and how whatever the whys that other people believe in, they're safe to believe what they want to believe, whatever. But the thing that most appealed to me was the fact that like he would hang out and make wine. Like he would have conversations. He would meet the regular person.
yeah,
And that's real, that's deep because even in the military with your faith, you can't just brush it off on everybody. And you do have leaders out here who lead with their faith, and that's just what they do. Like
yeah.
I also had to I'm like, it's something that's like I know that I'm imperfect. Like one of my last podcasts, I talked about like no what was it? It was I think it's what trying or what not is. It's not perfection. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like nothing is perfection. And I think that's the hardest part is like we're looking at everything from a media lens and everybody thinks like this needs to be perfect. No, I'm a human. Like I've made some terrible decisions. Like I've hurt a
Yeah,
lot of people, and we hurt people without even realizing we hurting people,
yeah.
you
And
know?
that's where like that what did it for me, man?
What?
It was the fact that Jesus took naps. I'm like,
Look
this
at
man,
that.
he knows what, because that fits my personality. It's like you can't worry about everything all the time, man. Like sometimes you gotta take a nap. You know what I mean?
Man,
But it's something deep in that, man, because it's like we expect so much out of ourselves, and we forget to allow ourselves to be human beings. We forget.
yeah.
I think it was Queen Latifah who had a song. I'm gonna botch this, man, but some of the lyrics kind of stuck with me. But I'm a paraphrase here. But she's like, "They only people, you
Yeah.
know, they only people." Like,
Well, and that's it's real that you say that because like I've had to start looking at other people as people. Like
mm,
I don't so I've read some books lately, emotional intelligence. I've read ego, authority, failure, and all of these things are talking about the human condition in people. Robert Greene just came out with a book a couple years ago, The Art of Human Nature. Like that
mm,
changed my life. I stopped looking at like people that I was dating. I stopped looking at my parents in certain ways. I stopped looking at leaders in certain ways. Like I just started looking at them as human beings.
yeah,
And once I started expecting humans to be humans, I realized that there was grace in that. And then it's like at my peak, even with FedEx, like I left, I went on deployment, I came back, then I got in an accident, and then man, it's just Then I had to help other people drive, and I realized like they had skills that I didn't have. You know what I mean? Like I've always been known. Before I left, I was that go-getter guy. Hey, Tommy gonna go help him. He gonna go take some. You know, they'd be like take 10 stops, and I go take 20, and I have to go take 30, and then I get back, and I'm the one that gets in an accident the week after they talk about how to drive safely. Like things have changed. So I'm like, oh, the system now they got cameras in every time. The truck when it rocks, because them trucks like 10 cans. And so every time it rocks, they got a little camera, and I'm like, ego is in me like, man, these weak cameras, bro, they always going off, yada, yada, yada. But then I got in an accident and it humbled me. Because it was like, you have an opportunity here to either fail or succeed, to show that like you're really made out of what you think you're made out of, or just walk away because you soft. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go through it, but I'm also gonna take a nap. Something was like in me. It was like, be still. Be still.
Yeah.
Listen, watch, learn. Shut up. Shut up. Shut up. You're a runner. You still getting compensated. You're a runner. Shut up. Learn from this person. Yeah. And all those tools, the week or so, like the first day I was like, nah, I ain't gonna be no runner. Because you come back, you got a little bread in your pocket, you know what I'm saying? I ain't balling, but I had enough to miss a day, It's sad that we have to say that, right? Like I had enough to miss a day of work. But I was like, you know what? Listen to what they're doing and how they want to do it. It's their route. Let them run their route. Because the ego in you is like, I've been doing this for years, blah, 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 blah. But it's a totally different game. It's a totally different system.
Yeah.
And man, a lot of go ahead.
My bad.
No, you good?
That's what I discovered, man. Like over the last 2 to 3 years, I've been trying to understand like pride. What like that it's so funny, like dealing with like media and things like that. Even the struggles we have, those things, they're presented in media a certain way, right? Like, so for instance, when we were talking about pride, you think about somebody who has a lot of pride. You're thinking about like someone who brags a lot, someone who's arrogant. That's not necessarily true. Like pride is like, it's like the freaking rainbow, man. There are so many different types of it, and it's the worst thing about it is it's super subtle. It was last week that I discovered that I had a pride issue. Like, so I'm a company commander, and I get a call from a major, about a soldier that is now with him, but this particular major is basically telling me that I'm going to do something, and he's nowhere in my chain of command. I look at him and I'm like, well, I don't look at him because it's on the phone, but I'm like, sir, it's not going to be me.
Oh, I know that look.
Yeah,
I know that look.
I was like,
I've had some run-ins with some majors during my deployment, so go ahead.
I was like, nah. And, things got kind of disrespectful because I'm like, who is he? This guy's an XO. I'm a commander. Like I don't even know what you're talking about right now. You're not going to force me to do something, and not explain to me what it is. First off, you called me wrong. And like, it was just like,
big facts though. He did. He did.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be 100%. I'm a little devil on that right shoulder. He did though.
Yeah,
what you gonna say now?
Yes, and I followed the devil on my shoulder, and I and I paid for it because it turns out, when I got off the call, he was like, "All right, call your boss. I'm gonna let him know how you're acting as a captain." And I wasn't sweating that too much. But the situation he was talking about, I found out I was wrong.
Ooh.
That's what got me, man. I'm like, because I'll stand on anything when I feel like I'm right.
And I know, Aaron.
But I'm willing to concede also, Tommy. But like, man, I was sitting there. I'm like, bro, you were way off. You were way, way off. And I went to my boss and I told him, I was like, sir, this is the situation. I said, I'm like, I was wrong, basically, not so many words. I was like, I was totally wrong about this. And he allowed me the grace, to feel that mistake and to grow from it. But it felt terrible, man. It was then I realized that I got a pride issue. I don't
Mhm.
brag, Tommy. I
No,
don't
you
go
don't.
around saying like I'm like, oh, I'm that, but I got a pride issue.
But that's
I,
that
I have,
beast.
hey, man.
That's that, and you always have. And the thing is like, but it's been like that's why we gravitated towards each other because of that beast. Like I always
Hmm.
knew you had that beast, but like sometimes like there was times where I wanted you to bring it out, but you wasn't. But they always the hungry beast was always like people just
Yeah.
saw it on me, so it was just like weird. And I'm like, but there were times where I watched him. Like I remember when we was doing MDMP, I was like, man, that's my boy. You know what I'm saying? Like
I know what you're talking about.
I'm like, that's my boy. Look, hey, look at hey, Cook.
Uh-huh.
You really like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, Cook, bro, Cook.
Yeah.
Cook, bro, it's this your time to shine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the worst part though about the ego and the pride issue is if I was there, I'd probably be like, yeah, bro, yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I would have fed off
You
it.
would have hit me up like, man, what this major doing talking to you like, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's the worst one, right?
Yeah.
Because even the situation that I had, like the major run-in that I had on deployment, it was like I was talking to everybody else, even my platoon sergeant, they was confirming, what is he tripping? You know, even the Joes get around you. Yeah, sir. Yeah, sir. You know, like
You up, man?
and I'm like, you got to detach. You be like, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. This ain't the one you want. Because I've seen greater men crumble because of that, even when they were right.
Mm.
That's the hardest dichotomy of leadership is when I feel like we've always kind of, for the most part, latter part of our military career has been people that have taken extreme ownership, but that's when it can fall off the cliff because extreme ownership isn't that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if you read Jocko's Extreme Ownership, but like it's also humble. Like it's also a lot of humility. Because when people hear extreme ownership, they're like, yeah, they should have did this. They need to take ownership. I need to take ownership. We need to take, And I'm like, and he's like, that's not the approach. Because there are 10 different ways to cut something and to dice it up and to slice it up. Like once I started to realize that there were no perfect plans, that's when my life started to change. I was like, allow them to lead you. Allow them to lead you. Tommy, the Army captain, allow them to lead you. Allow Private Joe Snuffy to lead you and to teach you and to motivate you and to show you they're part of the world because guess what? You don't have it all.
That's
and you know what? You over here talking on this Proactive Pragmatism podcast, bring some people you can learn from so you can chop it up and grow. And y'all can share feedback and y'all can learn about different things because I don't know everything. And I don't need to know everything because my team and my people, y'all are my strength.
Yeah.
I feed off of that. And like you was talking about like people needed the podcast, but I needed the podcast just as much as I felt people needed the podcast and the podcast needed me. I needed this.
Yes. And there you go, man. And in essence, like that's like, that's the brand, dude. Like
it's deep. Because the other thing is like people think like I'm some cocky guy, but the people that really know me, like I do anything for anybody at any time. Unfortunately,
I think it's the burden of knowing what right looks like, of seeing what something is supposed to be. And then you have all these things outside of your realm that you can't really control. You can't reach out here and grab this and be like, I got the picture, man. I know what I feel like, I know exactly where this should go, but it's like herding cats. You know what I mean?
But
like
bro,
you can't get them.
You don't know exactly where it should go.
Yeah.
I talked about on a podcast making a plan, and I've never seen a plan that went 100% the way it was supposed to go. And just as much as I know as Seaburn officers, it never goes the way we want to plan it out to go.
No.
Some commanders like, I ain't got no budget there. Put that down. warfare, chemical warfare guy. You come here. You know, like,
Yeah.
but you just told me, sir, you just Pride, shut up, do the job. Show that the chemical core is worth its salt.
Yeah.
Like our job inherently is to be meek beast. Like as Seaburn officers. Like it's weird. You know what I mean? Because if we don't step, when they say step, we need some Seaburn knowledge. We get stuffed in a corner.
Yeah.
And I watched a general 3 weeks ago talk about how, like, when reductions come, we have to do the best that we can with what we have. And guess what, my brother? These was African American generals. These was two brothers that was in the Pentagon and one that was at the schoolhouse. And they were saying, you know, as budget cuts do happen, we have to adapt and use what we have. And that's what the military really is.
Yeah.
And that's what life is.
And that's what I was saying, man. Like in the beginning, like if you're a person that is so set in your ways, like it's going to be incredibly hard to survive life. And I'm not saying like compromise your core values. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, like, if you can't like grow, if you can't adapt, then things are going to get hard for you very quickly, because that's the one thing in life that's constant is change. Like it might go through cycles, but if you're not ready to, you know, man, you can't be wearing like tank tops and shorts during the winter. You know what I mean? Like you got to be ready to.
Then you look at me crazy like, it's 40 degrees outside, sir. I'm like, I'm hot and I got
unless
these
you're
pants.
FedEx, you know,
man.
But you got to be ready to pivot.
I had like size 40 pants when I first started.
Oh, where?
Got like a 32. My pants just don't fit. Anyway, sorry.
Nah, man, but what I was saying earlier about like your vision, right? And like the way, like how that burden of like seeing an ideal, you know, wishing for that ideal to come to pass, but then having things outside of your grasp that are necessary to make that ideal, you know, a reality, and not being able to control it. And you know, it takes a lot of humility to be able to like kind of let those pieces fall into place when they need to, because you know it's going to happen, but you got to be willing to like kind of do what you got to do, and then allow that thing to kind of happen organically, because those are the best like conversations, those are the best like meetings, like, and you'd be surprised how much genius comes out of like just, you know, the universe kind of working things out. I mean, you have your part, but the universe has its part also, and you just got to understand that like you play a smaller role in that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and that's beautiful, because what you just said about, basically you just explained detaching from the situation, going in with no expectations. You have a plan, but you don't have any expectations of how that's going to be executed. And that has changed me from the inside out, because even when I took the deployment, I was a lieutenant, and I was worried about, you know, like you start getting caught up in the, man, I'm supposed to make captain soon, you know, stuff like that, the things that don't even matter really. Yeah. Like, you know, you're doing a good job. I mean, you know, or you're trying to do a good job. But once I was able to push that out the way and just be a platoon leader, do that. That's when things started to change within me and within my organization. People also started approaching me different, because I didn't realize, as much as I needed other people, they needed me to bring what my experience in life was to the table. Because I had a conversation with a first sergeant, and she was like, I had no clue you were homeless. Like, I don't know, for some reason I guess I give off this upper middle class vibe or something. But yeah, man, like I spent most of my Christmases in a homeless shelter, and most people don't even know that. Like, those are, you know, like, it's such an open book scenario. And so my other thing is, so I know that you're an Alabama native, and I've always wanted to ask, like, how was it growing up in Alabama? Because like if I talk to Aaron Paschal, I'm like, Alabama? Like, bro, I've talked to people from the South, and you don't talk anything like people from the South. And maybe that's just me. Let me get out of my own way. Stop stepping on toes right now. But like, what was it like growing up? Like, I'm gonna say something that's really horrible. Y'all had shoes, right? Y'all just run around with shoes on in the dirt. Like, I don't know. That's what I just.
All right.
My
So I'm
grandma
gonna
was
answer
from
that, right?
Mississippi,
You asked, right?
and my mama from Dirt Road, Memphis. Like, they lived on a farm. Like, she didn't have a toilet until she was probably like elementary age.
No, man. So I came from incredibly humble beginnings. Like when it comes down to that aspect, I love Alabama. Like
you love Alabama.
I do.
You probably one of the
it's
first
home.
people that I'd ever like. They say they were like, "Yeah, I'm from Alabama," and then but I went to, you know.
Yeah, no, man. Because here's the thing, Tommy. Like, it made me who I am.
Oh,
Like, I don't think the Aaron Paschal that's like before you right now would be the same if I grew up in like L.A., Chicago, or heck, even Atlanta. Like,
L.A. Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, different dude. And check this out, man. Like, there were even some times like, so where I'm actually from is a small place called Tallahassee, Alabama. It's basically a big circle, man. And you're right. Growing up, there were some days I went over to my grandma's house and I lost my shoes. Did that stop me from going outside? Nope. Sitting there, nope. I mean, red clay and all. But yeah, man, just being raised with those Southern values.
Red clay.
Yes,
that's real. That's
like
real.
once it touches your shoes, once it touches anything like white or anything, it's done. It's a wrap. Just hang it up and don't let it have rained or anything like that. You're not gonna get it back to the luster. But my grandmother was my dad's mom. She was a school teacher, and my dad and my mom got together when she was very young, and she ended up living, with them for a while. And my grandmother was always like big on education. It's a funny thing, like my dad's family growing up, like you never really understood that they grew up in the ghetto because they never wore that. You know what I mean? It was always like this air of like, I guess, kind of nobility, if I could say that. But my grandmother was very firm on like, hey, proper grammar, speaking like you have some intelligence. And my mom instilled that into us as well. So I got it a lot growing up, man. It was rough.
Really?
My cousins would tell me I sound like I'm white. This one running joke with my grandmother on my mom's side. One day I asked my great grandma for some water. I was like, "Oh, Grandma, I'm so thirsty. Can I have some water, please?" And they hollered, man.
Water.
It made me cry. I was like, God, like, why am I made like this? But I don't shun any of the experiences I've had growing up. I was raised with like, Baptist, values, honoring your mother, honoring your father, loving your neighbor, being polite, saying yes sir, no sir. My mom taught me from an early age that kind of stuff will open doors for you. Just showing respect to people, like, and I don't resent that at all.
No, and that's facts. Like every day, like even when people don't like the job that you're doing, it's weird how a yes sir, no sir can really steer things in a different direction because they're not expecting it. Most people go, yeah, no, yeah, sure. Like when you say yes sir, no sir, there's a humble power to it. Like my
it's
dad,
like I respect your station in life. I may not agree with what you're saying, but I respect the fact that you're advanced in years enough to have wisdom that I don't yet have access to. So yes sir, no sir, no ma'am, no, yes ma'am. And my even with my kids, like that was just like par for the course growing up. And like the teachers that they have, they're like, oh, they're so respectful. They're always saying yes sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. And I'm like, that's like,
That's
you know,
respectful. Like that's baseline.
yeah. That's the standard. They should be doing that anyway.
Well, and that's the thing is like my daughter, you know, it sounds like you're really passionate about being a parent, you know, as like I watch my kid, our kids look just like us, bro.
Yeah,
And
no
as I
denying.
watch her grow, like she's starting to like talk about yes, sir, no, sir, you know, stuff like that. Because like, you know, she is 5. And so, but that's a ripe age to start having those conversations because we went into a direction of like her, you know, finding her freedom, having fun, stuff like that. But it's time, like when she's with me, like I'm not like super strict discipline, but you know how I rock. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
man.
saying? I'm like, Zayla, you know, like we do little, I do little parables with her. Like it's like we like something simple. So we was doing the crayon things and like we was coloring and I say crayon things. We was coloring and she wanted to just throw the crayons in the box. And I was like, let's put those in there the right way so that way next time we get them out, like we can use them over and over again. And guess
Yeah.
who caught me on my crayon slippage when I was in a hurry? Hey Dad, we gotta put these in here right.
Yeah, what are
You're
you
right.
gonna say?
You're right.
Like, you're right.
You're right. Like, you know what I mean? But it's those small things.
Yeah.
So this brings me to my question. How do you balance being a father and a commander? Because that has to be tough.
Well, I would tell you, and can I just like wrap up the whole Alabama thing
Yeah, go
real
ahead.
quick? Yeah,
Yeah.
like, okay, so talking about humble beginnings, right?
Mhm.
Uh, you know, I remember a time when the house we lived in had like it was a home, had plenty of
Mhm.
love and everything,
Mhm.
but there were times where I could like, you know, see through the floor.
Mhm.
Like I remember, like there were days my mom would get, and my mom was great, man. Like she grinded and she hustled for us. I wouldn't be who I am without her. We would huddle together in the living room, you know, because we had one like space heater, or we had one heater to heat that room, and we'd close it off, and that's where we would sleep, you know, just so
Mhm.
we could stay warm. Uh, Hell, man, I remember a time. Excuse my French, but I'm just gonna keep it real. I remember a time when we didn't have like plumbing in the house for a minute,
Mhm.
and I'm not gonna talk about the gritty details of what we had to do for that, but uh,
Mhm.
like you know, just having those circumstances, you know, the family I had, you know, growing up, because they gave me a hard time, right? My extended family, but there was definitely love there. My aunts, amazing. My uncles, awesome. You know, the kind that would like it. We had a village, you know, to raise us.
Mhm.
So wherever you look, there was love. You know, there was
Mhm.
always somebody gathering at somebody else's house for like some kind of dinner or cookout or what have you.
Mhm.
And it was really close to, you know, like when one person had something, the other person had it because that one
Mhm.
person had it and we were family. That's how we were raised. But I attribute that to being, you know, raised in Alabama like that. Those are the memories I have. I have some good memories and some bad memories, but all in all, you know, that place is what made me who I am.
Okay. Outstanding.
Um, and my and it kind it extends into my passion for my children.
Mhm.
My like when I was 5, like I love my dad, but he wasn't like in my life the whole time. And I just remember, man, from the age of 5, there was one thing I wanted, just one, like one thing I knew I had to have, and that was a family with
Mhm.
kids. Like I knew I wanted to be a dad because I wanted to give uh, my children that guidance, that constant, you know, hey, put the crayons back in the box the right way, but not just when, you know, they were with me
Mhm.
consistently every night when I came home,
Mhm.
because I didn't have that, you know, from him. I had it from my mom, you know, who worked, you know, she was a nurse working late hours. Sometimes she wouldn't even, we would go like weeks without really seeing her because she was gone when we went to school. And, you know, or she was gone when she was asleep when we went to school, and she was gone when we uh, left or when we were asleep at night. So we like there were times where we barely saw her, but I wanted to give my sons that. I wanted to give them. I wanted to be the dad that I was missing.
Mm.
Uh,
Okay.
so, and I rambled, Tommy. Was that that
Nah,
was the
nah.
second
You
question,
hit it. I
right?
mean, it all blends together. I mean, this is me listening and growing and soaking it in, and I think that's beautiful that you do talk about family, because that's something that I kind of struggle with per se in my life. I've got a different path, and I didn't. My family was tight, but my dad was a black sheep, and kind of became the black sheep of the family, and it's hard to envision what a positive family might look like. And so I was able to live that out through the vision that you just set for me. So I appreciate that. And so that's deep, because it's those small little things that you do with these kids that they pick up with forever. Like, they remember everything. It's weird.
Yeah, man.
I'm like, she's like, Zayla says all types of crazy stuff. I'm like, wait, what? Oh, you remember that? Oh man. But it's the stuff you like, hey, you remember we did this? Like, you start to turn into that old dad, and like, he's like, Pops, what you talking about? And I'm like, I got dementia already? Like, what is going on? So, I think it's wonderful. And that's one of those things where, like, you've always been a very family-oriented man. Even when I was at your place, I felt like family,
Oh
and
yeah, man.
at
You coming into
the
our space? Yeah.
yeah, and it was like, and they all kind of knew what was up. You know what I'm saying? What ain't one of your son's name? Isaac.
The middle one.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And then
Yeah.
and then you had the little baby. I mean, it's been so many years, man. Sometimes you don't even realize how fast the years go by, and so it's kind of crazy.
And that's another thing, man. Like so my family is very valuable to me. If I share my family with you, then by extension, I consider you family.
Okay.
I don't post them a lot on social media. That'd be my wife, because she's, she loves that kind of stuff. But like, I do it when I feel like the moment is like legit, like important to me. But if I share that side with you, then that's what it is, because I don't just bring anything around my sons. Um, and yeah, man, like, it's funny you said that about the things I remember, because we put AJ, the oldest, we put him in karate, and it was really to teach him like self-defense, but it was also to teach him self-confidence and control. I feel like combat sports teach a level of confidence that is necessary to be able to walk away from and diffuse a lot of situations, Okay. And I continue to teach him that with the boxing and stuff like that. His mom was coming in the house, and she was like, "Hey guys, I'm about to, do some stuff. I need y'all to come in the house." They're like, "Mom, we want to stay outside." And she was like, "No one's out here to watch you." Like, that's why Dad taught us to fight. We can defend. We can fight off any attacker. Like,
your kids are some of the most confident kids I've ever been around. Even when they were so tiny years ago, like,
yeah,
they
man.
was like, man, they is about it. Like, they got the beast. I don't know what the meek part of maybe.
Hey man, the meek is, it's funny. The beast comes natural, but the meek is like, it takes a minute to instill that.
It does, don't it? Like, I feel like
Yes.
I grow every day. Like, I feel like I even see so much growth in you, even just having this conversation, like even setting this up. Like, it was night and day. So,
but isn't that funny though, man? Like, the connotation of or the the definition of meekness. It seems like weak, right? But it takes a lot of strength to be meek. Like, I would argue, without strength, you can't be meek.
No.
Without strength, you are by definition weak. But meekness is strength under restraint. Like, it's what I could do, but I hold myself back from it because I understand that, I understand the nuance of this situation. That always letting that lion out of the cage isn't a good thing. No, and it takes a lot not to, to do that.
So much. Like, somebody I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about huge strength, because I follow Stoicism. That's kind of changed my life as well. I started listening to a lot of that, like, while I was deployed, because, like, I had to be conscious of what I look like and how I can come off to people.
Mm.
Like, just because of my occupation, I walk fast and swift, so I can seem like I'm going at somebody, which when I'm not. Like,
Yeah.
I'm super poised, like I stop, you know what I mean? But a lot of people aren't they're not used to people who stand up straight with their shoulders back, you know what I mean? Like, and people that are physically fit. It's weird even being amongst captains. Like, a lot of us are not in shape, like in any means. I thought, like, when I watched military movies, I don't know, maybe it was all the movies that I watched because I just wanted to be an army man like my dad, you know. When I was real little, you know, I would walk around the living room with the hats and the boots on, you know, tripping and falling because I'm clumsy. And it's like, that's who I want to embody. Like, it's weird. Like, when you're leveling up and you reach captain status, it's like, man, like, dude, like, we are the young Captain Americas. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's us now. And so I had to be very understanding of who I was. And a chief that I hold in high regards, like, you got to be a chameleon and you have to learn how to channel your energy, because it's great and you have an amazing story and it can change people's lives, but they got to be ready for it. And so I was listening to Stillness and it brought me back to that. And that stillness, Jackie Robinson had to have it. He was in a lot of our seats. So I don't know if you watched the movie 42.
Yeah.
Well, what you see is in the beginning, his frustrations, he's breaking bats, he's doing all types of things. And in order to actually make on the team, you know, it's like he was, you know, the coach asked him, was like, can you control yourself? And it's like, without that self-control, his life wouldn't have been as influential as it is. And we see that with a lot of Black leaders as well, you know, like Martin Luther King and the Malcolm X. Malcolm X even evolved to a place where he realized that, yes, violence, you know, utilized in the right way can make waves, but it won't make the waves that you need it to make. But he learned how to be still. He learned that in prison.
Yeah.
He was a pimp, you know, like MLK learned how to be, you know, still. And that stillness is where you grow, and that's where you recharge. You get back in that fight, man. That's everything. That's that meekness, you know, and that's deep, because I need that every day. Yeah. Every day is a different challenge at work. And obviously, you know, this being in command, there's just so many different things that happens with soldiers and troops. And if you don't embody that meekness, you can also come off as a tyrant as well. You can come off as that leader that doesn't care about anybody. Because now, the military is suffering when it comes to leadership. And
yeah, man, I'm glad you said that. Like, and we're trying, you know, we're trying to, because there are for every, you know, leader that you see that's kind of ate up, I would argue that there are like at least like 2 or 3, you know, that are trying to understand their troops. They're trying to understand the environment that they're in, and, you know, still get the mission done. Because, you know, people first, mission always, you know, like we still have to figure out, like, how do we navigate this so, like, we're not running our people into the ground, but we're still getting the things done, because, you know, our mission is to protect people of the United States, to fight and win the nation's wars, and also to, you know, support and defend the Constitution of the U.S. So, like, how do we do this? Because that's a monumental task.
It is. It's huge.
Like, it's an incredible thing.
And when soldiers pay ain't ready, guess what? They don't
feel like doing that. They don't want to hear about. They don't want to hear nothing about the Constitution.
None of that.
Or like, you got, you know what I mean? Like, and then it goes deeper still, because it's like they want to know that you want to know them. I've learned that over the last year, man. Like, you can still ask the question and on the surface appear as if you care about your people, but until they feel. So I have my boss, man. He's awesome dude. He said, look, and he's taking this quote from somewhere else, but he said, look, people will always remember how you made them feel. And I'm like, man, like, but sir, how do, like, you know, we got to do this and this, like, and he's like, Aaron, look, this is what it is. You know, you gotta figure out a way to get the point across without, you know, stepping on people, basically. You know, because like within regulation, you can do that, right? Like the way it comes off, like most people, bad leaders, like they say that, like you can, but people who stand, you're a human being first. You're a man, you're a woman before you put on that uniform. People who understand that know how to kind of mix that. It's like, okay, if I give them this dignity and respect, like in earnest, then they'll return, you know, the respect I believe I'm supposed to get according to like regulation and all that stuff. And they're going to do it gladly.
Yeah.
You know,
no, and it's crazy.
And it's a difficult thing because I never want to be disingenuous when it comes to the people I lead. I always want them to know that, like, no matter what, like, I care about who you are as a person. Like, that's why, like, you know, a lot of my guys, like, we talk about like their interests. Like, if things interest them, it interests me. And like, I always want to know, like, you know, kind of the things that they're doing. And they probably get tired of me asking these weird questions because I'm like, hey guys, what's up? You know, just, but for the most part, it's because, you know, I'm interested in what makes them who they are as a human being. Because, man, like, we did this exercise at our SATB, the Pulsar major, he stood up, he was like, all right, you know, what I want you to do is talk to the person next to you, and ask them some stuff, not about like what job they have, ask them some personal stuff. You know, dug down into it, man. The lady that was sitting to my right, she was a lieutenant. Found out that, you know, she was raised in Inglewood, like in the 80s.
Ooh.
So, but like she went to a HBCU, officer in the military, and I'm like, dang. I never would have thought that, you know. And then it's like that whole picture, man. Like, oh, that's why so and so likes to sit in the corner and read, or that's why so and so is like kind of loud like that, you know.
Well, it's weird how these pieces fall together because sometimes it could be even years later. Like, I didn't even realize that one of my soldiers was a manager at Rent-A-Center, and I felt like I should have known that, but I'm glad that I didn't know it because it made for a better podcast episode. But so like I was like, because like I started looking, and so somebody had tagged both of us in there. I was like, talk about motivation, motivate me. I'm like, I'm not like a motivation machine teleprompter. Like, I'm always evolving and changing too. Like, I'm always learning and failing. So it's really hard to just, do this. Because even every time you tell them to do that, like, it's not what they really want to do. It's been in front of them, so you have to kind of walk that walk. And some people, like, I'll post workouts and stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy's posting workouts." And I'm like, "No, I actually have people that are feeding off of this energy, and then I see them get in there, and I'm like, I need to get in there, you know." But that's life changing that you were able to reach out like that, because now when it comes down to counseling that soldier, you can understand where they're coming from, because inevitably you will have to counsel somebody.
Yeah,
you will have to discipline somebody. And the best way to do that is to empathize with them. You know, you take an ownership, but while you're taking ownership, you can also show that, like, you got love for them. Because that's the hardest part, man. It breaks my heart every time that I have to discipline somebody or do a negative counsel statement or put something negative on like an NCOER or something, you know, like something that was crossed
in black and white, you know, like, because it just makes it like you said, man, is like, these are people you love on like a certain level, and you don't want to, like, I don't want to, like, because I find that most of the time when that happens, like, people will do one of two things. They'll either tighten up and go hard, or they'll spiral. And a lot of people spiral, because then it's like your relationship is, like, you know, kind of compromised at that time.
It feels forever tarnished. I've been on the other end of that. Like, I was the person that was spiral out of control. Like, I took it too personal. Like, even certain situations within the last few years that I've had with certain leaders and stuff, I took it too personal. And once the ones that actually cared and they actually reached out to me, like you were saying, and they actually knew where I was coming from and what had happened, that blow did not it didn't hurt nearly as much. And I
Mhm.
was like, you either learn, or you don't, and you stay stagnant and you sit there and
My
you step
brother,
on your own toes.
he's my friend, but I call him my brother because we've been friends for so long. We
Hmm.
were joking around, and I was telling him about a good decision I made because I was thinking about past Aaron. I was like, man, how would past Aaron feel about me making this decision? And he was like, you know what? Uh, Screw that guy. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, past. He said, President Travis. Dang, I just plugged his name. I hope he doesn't get mad at me. But he was like, President Travis doesn't think about past Travis's situations because there's no possible way that he can affect what I got going on right now in this very moment. He's like,
Hmm.
but Present Travis can focus on what future Travis is thinking because everything I'm doing right now affects him. It's like, bro, I was just telling a joke, man. Why you have to why
Why
you
you have to
have
go
to
all
take
deep
it?
on me? Like it
Yeah,
ain't like
but
that.
I've been meditating on it lately, man, and it's been helping me because I'm the same way, Tommy. Like when I like for me, it's like that aspect of disappointment. I think there's a thing, like not growing up with your dad around too much. You feel like there's a fear for me, like attaching to male role models because I feel like
Mm,
I might disappoint them to the point where they're like, man, going on, man. Like I
mhm.
can't deal with you.
Well, but there's also a lot of people that actually do that to you.
Hmm. There are, yeah. So like for me, I got this wall up, man. It's like I very rarely like seek out those people for
Mhm,
that reason. It's hard to know who to trust, but it's just interesting that you said that.
mhm.
Yeah,
Well, and that's also I know you heard about the Derrick Jackson thing. That's why also like that whole situation. Like I hope
yeah,
he gets the grace and the healing that he needs, and I hope his family does too.
yeah,
Because it's deep. Because a lot of times we basically deitize like other humans. And like
mm,
instead of taking the good and grasping at keeping it, we throw everything away. We throw it all out because we're attached to these principles that are attached to certain ethos and pathos and different things like that. And it ruins you just as much as you wanted to throw the person away. Like I
yeah,
learned a lot from Bill Cosby, but he, like I have to separate the lessons from the man because I learned a lot of those things. But here's the other thing is I can learn a lot from that
yeah,
because a lot of people don't understand like being an African American, you come from a lot of communities that there are a lot of toxic ways that you go about certain things. And I've learned that I've hurt people in the past because of how I've went on about certain situations and certain things. And that's why I have to give grace and have conversation with other people. Like, don't go down that path. This is how we do this. This is how, this is how chivalrous you should be. This is how, to be honest with yourself and to embrace that change that's right there within you. Because
yeah.
like the beautiful part about grace is that you can offer it and you also need to offer it to yourself.
100%, man. Like I think I, so. What I'm trying to learn and what I'm trying to teach myself, right? I'm not gonna preach, Tommy, because
No, you
like
good.
my whole like walk with God has been like it's been different. It's been evolving,
Mm-hmm.
but like the Bible uses like the image for imparting grace, like a court proceeding.
Mm-hmm.
It uses it like it depicts it as like owing somebody a debt. It's like okay, if I am going to court and God is the judge, right? And I'm begging and pleading for him to let me off my with a very light sentence. And he not only lets me off, like knowing full well, I deserve the chair. He lets me off with a super light sentence. You know, I go free. He's like, "You're good." But then I go into a courtroom and I'm sitting as the judge, and I refuse to let someone go. Based on how they treated me.
Mm-hmm.
You
Like,
know, to me, that's kind of like it's a level of hypocrisy. There's a parable that talks about it, but it's like why not go ahead and give people that kind of grace that you're
mhm.
expecting? Because that's what like if you're a believer, like that's what it comes down to, man. It's like at the end of the day, like karma has been getting real fast lately, man. I don't know if you realize that or not, but like,
Swift.
yeah, it's like it used to take years. It seems like karma's like, nah, man, bam, got you. Like, nah, I'm about to get you for that. Like, and it's just one of those things, man. I want to like make sure I'm trying to, do the best by the people I come into contact with, because I feel human life is like too short to waste on being petty.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's too short. Like, man, you're here for a blink of an eye,
Pretty
right?
day gone tomorrow, bro.
Exactly, and it's so quick, and it's like the time, whether you believe there's something that comes after or not, the time that you were in existence and you spent your time like forwarding gossip, you spent your time like not making the world a better place, or not like being positive, which you have the ability to do. You wanted to go for the negative aspect of it. For the brief time you were in existence, you decided to go for the negative end of the spectrum.
Mm.
And like having conversations with people in that moment, like, what did you gain from it? And I'm not saying that I'm the epitome of this, because I don't want to misrepresent myself, Tommy. Like, Meek Beast is a goal. Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
it is like,
No, I understand.
yeah, it's like I'm not there yet, man. It's
And
just
that
somewhere where I want to be.
no, I agree. And that became a part of my goal as well, because I started to realize the less you say and the more grace that you offer and the more you interact with people and assist others along their journey, the better off you are. And that was one of the things where I started a podcast, because I didn't want people to think that like I was some arrogant dude that was just talking on YouTube. Like, I've got life experiences that apply to grace and that apply to being nice to yourself, and things that are going to guide you along the way that I wish that I had. And I started that because I wanted people to see the human side of me. Like, I'm not perfect, but at the
Yeah.
same time, I got these little coins like Sonic, you know what I'm saying? If I can put a couple in your pocket and you go, fight the man, I know you into, video games and stuff, but you fight the warlord at the end of all of it, you know what I'm saying? And those 5 coins can save you.
That's
But
what
you
I'm
got to
talking about,
realize you
man.
got to have some of them coins.
Yeah, and
And you're not
somebody
going to
has
get
to
all
do
of them.
it.
I mean, and the people that do get all of them, they've been playing the game like that for 50 years. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
they are well seasoned. We trying to get seasoned, but we'll never get to the point where we're 100% seasoned. But sometimes a good little season here, good little season in there, it takes you beyond your years. And so as we get towards the end of the podcast, my question is what advice would you give 18-year-old Aaron that you've learned up to this point?
Man, wow. You know what, man? What I would tell him is enjoy being 18.
Mm. And
Um,
what makes you say enjoy being 18? What in your life did you not enjoy at that time?
well,
What was
so
you worried
here's
about?
what I was worried about growing up, Tommy. I told you, man, like I had like since I was 5, I wanted to be a family man. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be um, that dad with the white picket fence flipping the burgers outside. Oh, and by the way, I'm not the one doing that. That's my wife
With
because
them
she got
sandals?
skills on the grills. Yeah, yeah. Like I wanted to be that, man. And
I
I'm
did
sitting
8
there.
in the Paschal household. That y'all serving out there, man.
Hey, hey,
Y'all
you
serving
always
out there,
welcome,
man.
man.
I appreciate it.
But yeah, man, like it was one of those things. I was in such a rush to grow up. I don't think I enjoyed. I didn't take time to be 18. I didn't take time to like soak in those life experiences because I was trying to get to the next thing. Like
Mm,
I had blinders on, man. I was like, I got this goal. I got to get there, and I got to do it by any means necessary.
okay.
Uh, so I would tell myself to, like take some time, enjoy life, man, because youth is a gift, and it's one that you definitely should not waste, especially at the age of 30. I mean, I'm still young, but like, man, it seemed like it all hit me. Like, you know how you gradually get older? It's like
Mm-hmm.
30 all hit me in one day. It's like, all right, here you go. On my knees, my back. Them years of running and caught up with me. But yeah, that's what I would, and that's what I would impart to any 18-year-old man. Like the age of social media places us in danger of like thinking that our lives are over if we haven't like been a multi-million-dollar or made a multi-million-dollar business out of an idea, or that we're not this kind of social media influencer, or we don't have this going on all before the age of 25, man. Like I've seen this post and I know it's floating around on the internet, but it's like, you know, some platform, this digital age has young people thinking they failed life before they reach the age of 25.
Because it seems so easy.
Yes.
And there's not a lot of substance in the followers and the likes that they get. It's instant fame. I was listening to an influencer and it was like, here today, gone tomorrow. Was it light up, get 1.5 million views on TikTok or whatever? Like that dies down quick. And it's like it's an interesting world that we grow up in. And I'm glad that you're a solid father to, show examples to other, fathers of like different ways to be innovative. Like just by you having small conversations with your kids, like I don't make the time I spend with my daughter extravagant things, because money you can make, time you can't make that up. You can't get that back.
Oh man, whoever said time is money? I want to go back in time and like man, no.
But I mean, I guess, but you got to analyze it, read it, say that again, read it again. Like the memes say, read that again.
Yeah.
Time is money. They both
time
transition. Yeah. But
I think that's you're right. Like in the spirit of it, but like you got to bring that home and like, all right, what did you do? You said cook it up. Let me give you the ingredients.
The recipe.
Let me tell you a little bit more
about
the
recipe.
Yeah.
So that's real, brother. It's a blessing having you on the podcast. I appreciate you. And I'll before we end this, do you have any questions for me or anything, or anything like that?
You know what, Tommy? I wanted to know, like, so you answered my question about why you did the podcast, why you felt it was necessary. 'Cause I already told you that I felt like the world needed this. Do you think there's a time where you're gonna like be on the other end, possibly getting interviewed?
Oh yeah. Actually, some podcasts that I've already done, they plan on reaching out. But you know what? It's a blessing. I'm like, I'm willing to come on anybody's podcast and talk about things. It might not be what they want. I've done some interviews on like veteran stuff and things like that. But a lot of times I'm way too pragmatic with a lot of things, so I have to watch the direction that I go into. Because I'm like, there are a lot of resources, but I see the troops. Like I have to exercise empathy and compassion there, because like everybody's fighting a battle we don't, no other people don't understand. They can't get into the head, and it doesn't actually even have to have anything to do with PTSD. You just don't know. You don't have all the facts. You never will have all the facts. So what's the point of casting harsh judgment? But yeah, I'm supposed to be on a recovering a recovered ex drug abusers podcast. So we'll see if they reach out. But right now I'm just counting everything as a blessing. I'm just like glad to be able to talk to my friends about things that are important to them. And so this is highlighting you and all the other people that I've had, because every time that I do this, I grow and learn, even if it's 9 p.m. at night or whatever, how late it is, But I'm like, this is my passion. So I like talking and learning and growing. So yeah, I mean, if you get a podcast up and running, I'm more than happy to come on and be a guest and talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Not me. Like I already told you, man. My direction is this. But like I'd be interested to see like dig into what drives you a little bit more. I can kind of see a little bit of that, but I think, like you said, somebody needs that. Somebody's gonna like benefit from that, whether they're ready or not. Like I think the story should go out. But man, I'm gonna hook you up with your hoodie. You ain't even got to worry about it, man.
Hey man, I
I got
appreciate it. You said when I'm gonna rock that bad boy on the podcast, I'm like,
you.
yeah, that's fresh. Yeah, bro. My dog, you know what I'm saying, my peer, you know what I'm saying, Captain Pascal hooked me up. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Meek Beast. And he's offering a major discount, 10% off with the code Hungry Millennial. You type that in when you go get your gear. I highly recommend you get the gear because it's gonna blow up here soon. Like I already feel it. Like that Meek and that Beast, everybody needs some of that. So,
Yeah.
Aaron, you got anything else you want to say to the audience?
Hey man, like just grow. Like Tommy's, coined the used the word like several hundred times during this interview. Grace,
Mm-hmm.
grant it to yourself, grant it to others,
Mm-hmm.
and just live, man. Enjoy life because it's short.
Okay.
That's the one thing we've known. It's short. Enjoy your life, and grant other people the grace you hope to receive one day. So that's it,
Outstanding.
man.
All
Thanks for
right.
having me, bro.
I appreciate you, dog. Ladies and gentlemen, Aaron Pascal, the Meek Beast.